October up and down 매치.
All right, welcome guys to Seoul, South Korea. This is the GSL. This is the up and down matches. I am Do. With me is Moltrap. How are you doing today, man?
I am doing just fine, actually. I did a little sightseeing in Seoul today, so that was pretty cool.
What did you see?
A little bit tired. Went out to the big palace, Gyeongbokgung, I believe.
Gyeongbokgung, I think it's called.
I think it's called.
In our terrible American pronunciation.
Yep.
We tried.
Yep. So went out there. It was pretty cool. Seoul, Korea is pretty awesome because there are things like palaces, temples, and most importantly, the GSL. And I'm so happy to be here today. How are you feeling, by the way, today?
I'm awesome. I think I'm pretty much over my cold. So
good.
Yeah, I'm feeling good today. Thanks, of course, right away to our sponsors for making this all possible. Without you guys, wouldn't really be much of a show, would it?
Yep. Without our sponsors, Doa would still be sick with a cold.
That's right. Yep. It was their healing power that brought me through.
Right. I think one of my favorite tweets that you've ever tweeted was "Orange juice, take the wheel."
Yeah. Well, sometimes you just have to rely on orange juice.
Sometimes orange juice has to save your day.
That's right. Well,
anyway,
look at our results from yesterday here. We had FXO Oz completely dominating his group. Just that one loss at the end to Yu-Gi-Oh! Is kind of a weird game. We'll kind of forget about that one. And speaking of Yu-Gi-Oh!, he also moves up to Code S, just barely edging out MVP Keen. Meanwhile, JYP and Hong and Prime didn't have the best days despite Hong and Prime's awesome game against Keen on Daybreak with those carriers. That was a crazy game, man. I thought as soon as I saw the carriers in the field, I thought, well, Hong and lost, but he proved me wrong, man.
I have to admit, I haven't watched those games yet.
Oh,
I really want to go back and watch them. No,
Did I spoil it for you?
Well,
oh no,
it was going to get spoiled either way, I think, so I'm not too worried about that. But
I'm sorry.
No, I heard they were really, really awesome games yesterday.
They were.
And we had some awesome games on Tuesday as well for the first group. But here is our group for today. If you're a Terran or you like Terrans, you're going to love the group today.
I think there's a chance that we might see a Terran get out of this group. Just kind of, you know, making a prediction, just blind prediction there.
I think unless a meteor strikes the studio and kills everyone but Lucky, you are going to be correct about that.
Look at that. Lucky's like smaller than everyone else in his picture too. It's almost like, you know, one of these things is not Lucky. So one Zerg in a sea of Terran. Will Lucky be able to triumph? You know, his ZVT is actually really good. He showed that at IPL. He came in second place there.
Yeah, very impressive.
I think if any Zerg in these up and downs has a chance of, you know, coming out on top of these guys, it's Lucky.
I feel like Lucky, before IPL, if people had seen this group, they wouldn't have decided that Lucky was probably a favorite. But after watching his performance at IPL, I think Lucky is actually one of the favorites to get out of this group.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you mentioned before when we were talking about it that he only has to practice one matchup, so that is kind of a little point in his favor as well. He's not in our first game, however. We've got this guy right here, MVP SC, formerly of FXO, formerly the artist known as SC Foyu. Now he's on MVP. He's had a pretty good run in the GSL overall, especially in Team League, but fallen a little bit lately, down to the up and downs, of course. And over here we have his teammate, MVP Noblesse, formerly another Foyu member, actually Cute Foyu, back in the day himself. So let's see how he does today.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. You're right.
Yeah. You know, he's one of these players like Noblesse. He's kind of around. You know, I think he's pretty good, but I wouldn't put him on the level of some of the other Code S Terrans, you know, that we've seen. I don't know if he's, you know, going to make it back into Code S. We'll have to see. He might surprise us, but I think he's one of the ones that I feel is a little bit more likely to go down to Code A. Yeah,
well, especially as Terran versus Terran. I mean, TVT is obviously the most important thing in this group, and Noblesse has been really suffering in it lately. His last, I think, his last 4 games versus Terran have been losses, although his fifth to last game against Terran was a win, and guess who it was against?
Who was it against?
It was against SC.
Oh,
so a little bit of vengeance for the up and down matches from Season 4 going on, but there is one of our other players. Tasia is going to be playing in the next game.
Yeah, now ESV Diamond actually sent me an email, told me that Tasia is actually on a 19 win streak in the ESV Weekly Cups. Yeah, he is, and we're not talking about best of ones here. We're talking about best of 3s, best of 5s, best of 7s. He's won 19 of them in a row. So he's been playing pretty well online lately. We'll see if that can translate to playing well in the studio here.
That is actually disgusting.
I know. And there is the guy we were talking about earlier, FXO Lucky, just back recently from America, back from the IPL. and did pretty well. Did he play at MLG as well? I can't believe I'm forgetting right now.
I don't believe so.
I can't remember.
No.
I'm sorry, Lucky. I can't remember.
I'm going to go with no.
All right. We'll just go with no. We might be wrong, but we'll see here. Either way, this guy's been traveling around. He's been owning noobs all over the world, and he's back to GSL now to try to get into Code S. We'll see if he can. I think, like you mentioned earlier, he's got a good chance.
Yeah.
How about this guy, OGS Top? He, I talked to him actually about 10 minutes ago in the makeup room.
Oh, yeah?
And I'm like, so, are you tired? And he's like, yes, very tired. Many plane. And,
Many plane.
He was at IEM. He's been flying all over the place. He actually got 3-0'd at IEM, but my teammate goes to Gator'd. I'm so proud of you, Gator'd, if you're out there. Proud of you, buddy.
Yeah.
But, so Top, he's a very, very good turn player. GSL finalist last season, but here he is in the up and downs.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting to see that out of Top. Not that long ago, a finalist in the GSL. Here he is in the up and downs.
Yeah.
And, a couple of the stories here are actually, kind of how the mighty have fallen stories. SC also
good point.
Was, not that long ago ranked amongst the top Terrans in the world.
Absolutely.
And, he was very close to being in the finals. He was really in a good shape that he was able to face the top players. And here he is. He's kind of like fallen off that lately. Hasn't been bringing that same gameplay. And
with that, though, I really feel like he's one of the favorites to get back into Code S. He's got really strong TVZ. He's got really strong TVT. I think he's well equipped for this group in this situation. So I'm expecting him to go back into Code S. But we'll see.
Yep, it could be anyone's ball game, though.
Yep, it's TVT.
It is TVT. And, I think we might see some surprises from Tasia. I think Tasia might come out with some high-level play as well, especially hearing how he's been doing in the ESV tournaments.
Yeah.
Because that's actually, it's a Korean tournament. It's a weekly Korean tournament.
Right.
That ESV puts on. And so a lot of high-level Koreans actually play in those tournaments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all the names from the GSL usually participate, or at least a good amount of them. So he's not beating like random online kids in Korea. He's beating serious pro gamers.
Yeah.
And let's see what our map is going to be. Well, look at this first. Yeah, match history, like you mentioned before, in the July up and downs, Noblesse won, beat SC. So a little bit of vengeance for SC, possibly.
Maybe.
We'll see. You'll see IC, and we'll see it on Zelnaga Fortress, a TVT map that has gone through some interesting changes. It's, as far as TVT goes, they did have to change the watchtower in the middle. It was just too crazy. With
By change, you mean blow up?
Hey, that's a change, isn't it? It's a very drastic change, but it's a change. It's a
it is a change indeed.
Yeah, it was just crazy before they did that. You had huge tank lines in the middle of the map. Nobody could do anything.
By the way,
matches would last decades.
By the way, I was looking at the records of all these guys. Since TVT is going to be the most important matchup in this whole group. Actually, hold that thought. Looks like we are going to get into the first game here.
That's right.
SC versus Noblesse, who's going to take the first game and get themselves an early advantage with the GSL up and down.
Some funky death metal leading us in here. That was awesome.
I love that music.
All right. Well, up at the top left part of the map is our red Terran player from the team MVP. He is
MVP SC.
I really like our voices for this season too. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Looks pretty intense.
The voices from some of the characters from the Korean campaign.
Yeah, that's right. And down at the bottom of the map, we have another Terran from the team MVP. Used to be Cute Fo Yu, but now he is
MVP Noblesse.
He also used to be MVP Dog.
Oh, did he?
Yes.
Really? MVP Dog.
Which is a little bit silly name, so I'm kind of glad he changed it.
We'll see if SC throws him a bone and gives him an easy win, or if he...
SC's throwing him a gas first right now.
Yeah.
Before barracks, so it looks like he's going to go into a very quick factory build, whereas Noblesse getting his barracks first and then his gas. Maybe go for... we see a lot of Reaper expand on this map, actually. I wonder if that might be what he's going for.
Yeah, it is a good map for it. I mean, the cliffs do... There's a lot of room for you to jump in, scout the base. see what there is to see and go out. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all to see one of these players do a Reaper expand. In the same token, because of the way the bases are laid out, Banshees are also very popular as well. You know, in general, I mean, this is really a map that you can do anything TVT-wise. I mean, maybe it's not the best map for bio, I gotta say, but you can really do anything as far as harassment goes, at least. You know, you can do drops effectively, you can do Banshee harassment, Reapers, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah, there's all that open space around the edges of the bases, so it makes it really nice for that.
You could rush to Seeker Missile.
You could
hit
rush
the mineral line with it.
Yeah, that's actually
maybe someday.
It's actually going to be it's a really common strategy, rushing the Seeker Missile on this map.
Maybe in Silver League. Who knows? Maybe someday. I have my hopes, Moltrap. Don't crush my dreams, man.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't mock your dreams. I apologize.
I love Seeker Missile. I don't care who knows it.
So Noblesse has actually just gone for Marines and built a little bit later factory. So his factory is about 30 seconds behind that of SC, but he's going to have a few more Marines out. He's playing a little bit more safe, basically. And there is the starport for SC.
Yeah.
And it's next to his other buildings, so probably going to put down a tech lab after this Marine or after the Hellion.
Yeah, sometimes you see Terran players try to squeeze a Hellion out before the tech lab. Looks like he's just going to make it on his barracks instead. That's definitely an option as well. Does, of course, reduce the amount of Marines you have, but, you know, you get a little bit of map control with the Hellions. You just have to be a little bit more careful about things like Cloak Banshees coming at you then.
And it looks like Noblesse and SC, you know, they said that you take the high road and I'll take the low road and we'll meet together, because it looks like they're both approaching a kind of a Banshee build from different directions. I'm not sure if that's going to be the case for Noblesse. He may do like a Blue Flame or something like that, but nope, he's going to go ahead and go for Banshees also. Yeah,
and you can see how going gas first gets you that Banshee quite a bit quicker, actually, than going barracks before gas. I mean, this is a really good illustration of kind of the differences. It's, you know, it's the same opening, but it's just done in a little bit different way. The ordering is a little bit different, and it's kind of cool to see the big implications of that. Now, look at this, too. It looks like Noblesse is getting Cloak with this as well. Had a little bit more time to save a little bit more gas. Has 2 gas, whereas SC only has 1 gas, so he won't be getting Cloak. So I love this. I love it when you see essentially the same opening, but just little variations between the two. It's interesting to see how it all plays out.
And I gotta say, I kind of actually like Noblesse's build a little bit better, because his Banshee was only about 25 seconds behind, which is significant. It's significant, but he's ending up with a lot more Marines to defend against the other Banshees, and he's getting Cloak as well. So he's kind of ending up with a little bit more in that sense.
Now, the nice thing for SC, on the other hand, is that he's got a starport. He can make a Viking, too, if he wants, and stay safe that way. So he doesn't necessarily need all those Marines as well. So, although he did just cancel his Viking and start a Raven.
Oh, yes, he did. What the?
Yep, wants to be able to see that Cloak. And,
whoa, Caduceus Reactor being researched by Noblesse. Now, this actually, this is interesting. He canceled Cloak. Made Caduceus Reactor, so this might be so that if SC scans him, he'll see something researching at that tech lab, and then think it's Cloak and prepare for Cloak and kind of throw him off. That might be why he did that.
That usually is why they do that. I've never seen anyone actually finish this upgrade before. It'd be fascinating if they did, but basically, yeah, it's like you said, they want to draw scan, see the tech lab working. Yep, there's a cancel right there. The reason he canceled is because there's kind of 2 normal scan timings for TVT. One is at about 6:20 and one is about now. So where the scan didn't come, he's like, all right, SC used a mule probably. I can cancel this. I don't really need to worry about it anymore. You know, the other thing too is that, you know, the cat's kind of out of the bag anyway. You know, SC knows there's Banshees out.
Yeah, and I like how, I didn't actually see exactly how it went down, but I believe Noblesse scouted the fact that there was a starport. I mean, he saw the Raven of SC coming in. I think that's why he canceled his Cloak, because he's like, oh, well, he can just get a Raven really easily, so Cloak isn't going to help me very much.
Certainly possible as well, yeah, it's a good point.
And is this SCV actually going to get all the way in?
It's like it's getting too hot. You know, if you want a good costume for Blizzcon, anyone out there is still kind of looking, and you have to do it on the cheap, just dress like a trucker, and then you can be an SCV outside of the suit. There you go. Easy Blizzcon costume.
There you go.
You can thank me for that.
I actually know someone who is dressing as a Baneling.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Wow.
She's going to wear a Baneling costume, and everyone keeps joking about how the first person she meets, she's going to blow up, and so Won't be a very long-lived costume.
Hopefully not. That would just ruin everybody's BlizzCon.
Yeah.
Can't have people blowing up and stuff.
No.
You know, there is actually
bad.
Infernal Pignator on the way for SC, so moving into something a little bit differently. We'll have to see if one of these players decides to go for mech play. Looks like SC is planning on doing that, adding on another factory or so. Meanwhile, Noblesse looks like he might be going mech as well. You know, remember when I said at the start of this game that bio doesn't work too well on this map? You know, I feel like the areas are too small to get, you know, a good flank in a lot of cases. So I think we are going to see more players choosing to go mech on this map in TVT, even over something like Marine Tank.
No, I think I would agree with that, especially on this map, just because it's such short distances between the bases as well, relatively speaking, especially if you go through little nooks and crannies, what have you. There's always going to be a small choke point, like you were mentioning, that's going to help your tanks do more damage. Now, it's interesting, both players are really trying hard to gain the air advantage here, but Noblesse has kind of fallen off that. I don't know if he realizes how many Vikings SC has, but he stopped producing Vikings and given up that air advantage, even though they were on even production for a while.
Well, SC is just straight up out macroing him right now. I mean, look at the supply. Nobody's really touched anybody else, and SC is 20 supply ahead, so that's just some good macro by SC. What's the unit count right now? I want to check to see.
Yeah,
okay, the Viking count is 5-3, and yeah, look at that, 50 SCVs to 37 for Noblesse. So Noblesse maybe cutting a few SCVs to get some of this stuff out a little bit earlier. I don't know. I mean, it's definitely not looking too good for Noblesse right now as far as, you know, longer game situation. But here's the thing is that with TVT, one engagement can change everything. So
yes, indeed.
Can't really predict who's going to win or not. Although, that reminds me, you can go to GOMTV.net. We've got a cool new little prediction thing where you can choose who you think is going to win the match. You can see, I believe you can see the results overall, so kind of compare your guess with what the results actually are.
Oh, that's cool.
It's pretty neat, yeah. I love the new website. They're adding on so many new little cool features.
Yeah.
Very cool.
I think I'm just going to reiterate what you said before. SC is just straight up out-macroing Noblesse right now.
Yeah.
He's just producing so much more. And he does have siege mode now, so even though Noblesse actually has a few more tanks, SC can siege up on this low ground and theoretically do some damage.
Yeah, I think he's probably going to just pull back. Yeah, he is just going to actually pull back. That point is so hard to hold as far as aggression goes. And look at that, he's just using it actually to try to get a position outside the natural, but I don't think he's going to get there in time. Doesn't look like he quite is. He's going to need to be pretty careful pushing in here because right now I believe Noblesse has more tanks. It looks like they're even, but Noblesse has a better, you know, defender's advantage at the moment, obviously.
Yep, and the more tank advantage as well.
Yep.
Always helpful in these battles. But again, major Viking advantage for SC now. They both have a Raven, but they both have a Raven, so if Raven isn't going to help either of them too much because they'll just get countered with another Raven. You know, they can both put down a point defense drone.
Yeah.
So,
now, one thing that I'd like to point out is that I like how Noblesse is already making Thors. I think that's a good thing to do, especially when you know your opponent has the air advantage.
Exactly.
And he could be planning that all along, just going for a little bit quicker Thor in TVT to control, you know, the air in a different way. And that does work if you're careful about the positioning too.
Ooh, speaking of positioning, Noblesse getting into position in the middle of the map here. Trying to push in a little bit on SC.
This is the part of the game where these guys need to be so careful about every little move they make. You know, you lose your focus for just 1 second, everything dies, and you lose the game.
Yeah, now this is, I mean, Noblesse, he hasn't gotten a third base yet. He's like cut his third base in order to go for this timing attack, but he's gotten so out macroed that SC has more and the third base going up. So this is just a really bad position for Noblesse right now.
Well, you know, I hate to sound harsh on the guy, but it's kind of similar to what I was saying before the game, where I don't really feel like he's on the level that some of these other Terrans are in his group, you know, in Code S. I don't think he's quite ripe yet, if you could put it that way. Needs to ripen a little bit more.
Should have stayed on the vine a little bit longer.
That's right. Nice thing about Starcraft 2, you can put the fruit back on the vine. Let it go.
Two Hellions sneaking in here, though. This could turn the tide if SC does not react, or if he reacts incorrectly by bunching up his units. Oh, is he going to get more?
You know, you can really see.
Not that many SCVs gotten there.
You know, and here's the big fight now. Noblesse moving in, trying to take advantage of the fact that SC was a little bit distracted, but I don't know, man. It looks like SC still has enough. He's got to be careful about that Thor, but there is a Banshee there firing at it. If he can keep his Banshee safe, the Thor's dead. He's just going to crush this.
And
Easy.
Noblesse might even leave right now. No, he's going to try and fall back, and this extra couple tanks.
SC, what are you doing, man? Lift your Vikings. There's no reason for that.
Yeah,
all right, well,
there's no
SC,
reason at all for that. But
this is kind of showing off. I mean, he knows that it doesn't matter if he loses a couple. He's so far ahead. He knows he's basically got this game won. But I don't know. I just hate seeing players throw away units like that.
Well, a lot of his Vikings are low on health. He could be worried about that. But here comes SC pushing into the natural. Noblesse sending his SCVs out in a desperate attempt to defend. And GG.
Yep.
SC outclasses Noblesse.
Oh, absolutely. SC was just leagues ahead of this guy. I mean, I'm talking like Starcraft 2 leagues. I mean,
yeah, that's right.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know. It's like what's above Grandmasters and then what's above what is above Grandmasters. That's kind of where these guys are at.
Great Grandmasters.
Great Grandmasters. Back in the day in Season 1. My great Grandmaster did the strategy. Yep. StarCraft 2 in the future, man. So, pretty one-sided stomp fest for Game 1 there. I mean, SC just a lot better than his opponent in that case. A lot better than Noblesse. And
yep.
We'll have to see, how Noblesse does a little bit later this day. But, SC's looking good. Just straight up outmatched his opponent. Didn't fall to any sort of silly harassment or anything like that. Hellion Nerf helped him a little bit there.
That is pretty much what it came down to. It's just him getting out-macroed and, Tasia, I don't know why I said Tasia because he's the next match. Sorry, Noblesse. I think it really came down to the fact that he cut a lot of SCVs earlier. He didn't keep producing SCVs into the kind of early mid-game. And so he actually had a little bit of advantage early on because he had a higher tank count, but because he wasn't going for economy at the same time, eventually later on he got really out-macroed.
It's a smaller map. He was going for kind of a two-base sort of mech. I hesitate to say all-in, but it was pretty all-in. I mean,
two-base 19-minute all-in.
Yeah, I mean, and there are some good two-base mech pushes, but against a player like SC, it's just difficult to make that work. But let's talk about our next match.
Let's do that indeed.
It's going to be Tasia versus Lucky. Slayer's Tasia versus FXO Lucky on Belshire Beach. Lucky's got to be happy about that first map. It is kind of difficult for Terran to really make things work on this map, as we've seen in the history of the GSL. So will Tasia be able to do it? We'll see.
We will see indeed.
Go on GOMTV.net and vote. Make your voice, or at least your click, heard across the internet.
Remember, Lucky did beat a lot of really strong Terran players at IPL, so we want to take that into account. And it looks like we are going to get into the game right here. Tasia versus Lucky. We're going to find out who's going to win in just a moment.